That's right.
And it goes beyond our fentanyl crisis. It's a multiple broken system, and so there was a report that came out in 1999, I believe. It was called the 4 Pillars Approach. It was revised in 2001, and it actually talked about the 4 things that we need to do to combat what was then a drug crisis. And the problem has only gotten worse, and the reason for that is, harm reduction is a great technique, and it is one of the 4 pillars in this report, but the other 3 pillars talked about treatment, talked about prevention through education, and it also talked about improper enforcement. We're getting reports of police brutality out here. The other day I was walking down Hastings, I heard a cop call somebody on the street an effing goof. And this is the mentality of the enforcement that we have. It needs to be drawn back. It needs to come from a place of compassion, and I'm sure there are tons of cops that are out there that are compassionate. I'm not saying this is a citywide problem with our police force, but it is there, and it needs to be accounted for.
I think maybe, this is, I'm not supposed to give my opinion, but I'm going to. I think a lot of it is how we're portrayed down here in the media, and sadly, cops are people too, and so they come down here with this as already set view of how we are.
That's right. Absolutely.
Right? I know the most amazing people down here, and that's so gifted,
That's part of the broken system that I'm talking about, right? When we talk about the downtown east side, what are the words that we're using? Junkie, addict. We're not talking about the person. We're talking about the act, and we're talking about it in such a vulgar way that it is continuing to stereotype and demoralize what is actually underneath, which is the person, right? And what we know about addiction through current research is that addiction is caused by pain, whether it be recent or childhood or whatever. And we need to get to that root cause before we can treat the cause. And so we need to be able to help these people, and by sticking them in a box. We talk about the downtown east side, and you want to talk, you look in a newspaper, what's the first image that you see? You see, pictures of paraphernalia, pictures of people.
Kids are loud. Sorry, we are on the downtown east side. It is a Friday night, I think, or Saturday. Saturday night. Sorry, I lost your day there.
Fabulously.
So it's really loud, and there's, of course, you saw the police lights behind me, and the kids are loud. So we'll continue with our interview.
Fucking kids, eh?
Yeah. Anyways, to continue on what Scott was saying there, it's just a number of just broken down, lack of networking, communications. The 4 pillars. Scott afforded me some info on that a couple months back and to read it. And the original approach that they tried to go with here in British Columbia to start attacking this problem, it was a great initiative and a great start. And I think it's just gotten lost along the way. And so the initial thing about what we're down here for is just frontline, the initial start, plant that seed of options and choices. And like Scott was saying, this is somebody's brother, sister, wife, daughter, uncle, aunt, so on and so forth. These are people. It's a disease that they suffer from. And, people aren't down here by choice. People aren't down here because they thought one morning when they got up, hey, you know what, I'd like to be a drug addict.
It may have started by choice, but
it
never
changes,
that way. It changes entirely when it starts to consume the person, right? It's covering up that pain, it's covering up that trauma, and coming to a place where it's okay. I know for me, in my mind, it was okay to be numb because it felt a hell of a lot better than feeling, right? One of the things that sickened me the most down here is, you go over to Insight, just not Hastings there. You look right across the road. What's right across the road?
Condos,
a beautiful, brand new condo unit.
Oh yeah, degentrification. That's not going to work, and that's not the solution to this. And all you're doing is pushing and spreading the problem out there and putting more people at risk. By doing that, all that's doing is exposing people that have no idea the neighborhood and community that they're in to what's going on down here. And
it
here's
spreads.
A little quick
The people here will spread out, and it will go into other neighborhoods, and it'll,
To wrap that up, I'll give a prime example of how beautiful the community of the downtown east side is, and exactly what you're doing, and how you spoke about how some housing changed your life completely in the landscape, what that looked like. The Vancouver police did a study. There was someone going around robbing people that were in wheelchairs about, I don't know, a year back. And so the VPD thought that they would put an undercover officer out on the corner in a wheelchair to find out who this gentleman was, right? So making the automatic assumption that, you know, they would find that, oh, what they ended up experiencing is how much love is on the downtown east side here. They put this gentleman in a wheelchair with a fanny pack, with his money falling out, and you know, appeared to be incapable of getting directions of where he was going to go and how to help himself. They actually experienced active addicts like ourselves when we were out using, coming up and putting that man's money back, going and getting him food, taking him to the places that he was asking to go to. And it just goes to show right there, that guy spent 3 days, that officer, 3 days of taxpayers' hard-earned money and funding to work to find a guy when all the experience was just how we're all people down here. You know what I mean? And it's, you know,
it's a very tight-knit community. Like I would never live anywhere else.
Thank you,
now.
VPD.
Like, no matter what I do in my life, I'm gonna get clean or do whatever. This is where I'm gonna stay. Like,
I'll tell you, if I trip and fall off of